Hi, I'm Kendra Walker, and I'm going to be discussing tensions between light and dark skinned African Americans, particularly women. This is a subject that I decided upon after some controversy came about surrounding a multi platinum selling rap artist's comments, some racially charged comments he made, kind of highlighting his preference for light skinned women over dark skinned women. Upon hearing this controversy, I went to YouTube and I checked out a video that was uploaded by a user, a black woman named Lovely T 2002, and she discussed her outrage regarding these comments. What I found interesting is that while expressing her disdain for Lil Wayne, she also put down and disrespected light-skinned women in the process. And that is something that got me to thinking, why is there so much tension between dark and light-skinned African Americans, particularly women? Where did it originate? Why is it still perpetuated in today's society? And also, what, if anything, can be done to stop it? For my research, I read a book entitled The Color Complex, The Politics of Skin Color Among African Americans. And this book directly addresses the issue of tensions between light and dark-skinned African Americans, starting with slavery, going into the workplace, personal relationships, and everything in between. In the introduction of this novel, the authors describe the color complex, which is also commonly known as someone being color struck. They describe it as a psychological fixation upon color and features that leads blacks to discriminate against one another. The book immediately delves into the racial mixing that began as early as the 1500s between blacks and whites, which led to an offspring of these mixed or mulatto children. And the white colonists ultimately passed a law to determine the status of these mixed breed children. And they determined that because the children had one drop of African blood in them, that made them African. So sadly, this one drop rule is still very popular in black society today, although this theory was decided upon by white legislators in the Upper South in the early 1600s. As the authors of The Color Complex put it, the preferential treatment for mulattoes by whites laid the groundwork for the animosity between light and dark-skinned African Americans today. It is well known that slave masters would choose their mulatto slaves for the coveted indoor assignments while sending their dark-skinned slaves out into the field to do manual, grueling, back-breaking labor. Also, slave masters were notorious for freeing their mulatto children and often giving them slaves of their own. As far as the hatred for the skin color is concerned, as early as the 1900s, black women were actually turning to skin bleaching creams in an effort to lighten their skin. And before Madam C.J. Walker invented the hot comb in 1900, it was common for black women to use a stocking cap pulled over their head while their hair was greased with lard in an effort to make their hair appear straighter and longer. This, along with other factors, lent itself to the notion that women with naturally light skin and long hair had a superiority complex. To that, I have to say that the irony is that these light-skinned women suffered rejection, loathing, and outright alienation from the black community, which in turn negatively affected their self-esteem, often causing an inferiority complex. There was a study done in the 1990s by a clinical psychologist, Thomas Cash, and his student Selena Bond, and it revealed that 70% of black women believe that black men prefer light-skinned women. Spike Lee, a noted filmmaker, was quoted as saying the follows, quote, "Whether black men admit it or not, they feel that light-skinned women are more attractive than dark-skinned women," end quote. Now, if I were a dark-skinned woman hearing this, I would be outraged, but most of all, I would be devastated. So there's no secret why there exists a certain tension and hostility among dark and light-skinned women, dark and light skinned African Americans, particularly women. What is the solution? I'll turn to the book of Romans in the Bible, chapter 12, verse 2. It reads, "Do not conform yourselves to the standards of this world, but let God transform you inwardly by a complete change of your heart." I firmly believe that until African Americans let go of their old beliefs, their old ways of thinking, that the tensions will continue to thrive among light and dark-skinned African Americans. It is quite impossible to love your neighbor as you love yourself if you don't love yourself in the first place. So therefore, I feel that self-love fueled by self-knowledge is the answer to many of the problems that plague Black society today. Thank you for listening. That's all I have.